Hi, everybody. It's time for another Political Excess Community Poll Recap. I did one of these a little while back. People seem to like it, so we're going to get on my Community tab and take a look at all the polls that are at least a month old. I try to put up a new one every 3 days or so about elections, candidates, events, different issues. I like to know what people think, and voting in a poll, very easy to do. So let's get started here. The first one, will Jon Tester run for re-election? We've got 80% say yes, 20% say no. Of course, Jon Tester from Montana, there's a danger that this seat flips, even if Tester does run. If Tester doesn't run, it's likely to flip to the Republicans. Tester seems to have expressed interest in running, but you never know. He might decide it's not looking good for him. He might want to spend more time with his family, but I'm assuming he does run. And 4 out of 5 of you also think he's going to run, but we'll see what happens. Next, we have, will Joe Biden be the Democratic nominee in 2024? 73% yes, 27% no. I could put a middle option in there that says maybe, but I really like to make it binary on some of these and see where everybody falls if it's one or the other. It's hard to go against these results. He clearly seems like the front runner. A lot of people do not want him to be the nominee. Even Democrats don't want him to be the nominee. It'd be wide open if he decided not to run, but we got to see how the next 6 to 8 months go. In politics, there's always time for something to change, but right now, it'd be hard to bet against Biden being the nominee. Next, we have, will Donald Trump be the Republican nominee for 2024? 44% yes, 56% no. That's almost evenly split, and that makes sense. Trump is definitely running, and there's definitely a lot of baggage there. He has this odd mix of being the strongest and the weakest candidate at the same time, and he's been underestimated before, that's for sure, so you can't count him out. But if Ron DeSantis jumps in, then there's a legitimate chance Trump is not the nominee. It would be a really ugly primary, ugly debates. I think DeSantis is trying to avoid the mudslinging at this point, and Trump has no problem slinging as much mud as he can. So this is another one where we've got to wait and see what happens. I could probably put this poll out again a little bit later on in the year to see what everybody thinks and which way the momentum is. Next question, if Donald Trump does not win the 2024 GOP nomination, how likely do you think it is that he tries a campaign as an independent, third-party, or write-in candidate? 28% very likely, 17% likely, only 7% say very unlikely, 19% unlikely, and another 29% are in the middle, 50-50. This was a little bit surprising to me. I personally think that it's unlikely, maybe even very unlikely. I think Trump likes to talk a big game. He'll tear down anybody he can, but if he ends up getting fairly beaten in a GOP primary, I think he would rather see the Democrats lose than tear down the entire Republican Party. Now, you might disagree with that. That's fine. I know he threatened to do some of this stuff in 2016. I think he'll say anything to keep people on their toes, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I just think that it's unlikely that he would try a dead-end route as an independent or third party to write-in. But this was a good question, and I'd like to see the results. And the next question is about the Speaker of the House raw vote margin. Now, the correct answer is 4 votes. He ended up winning 216 to 212. This was with some Republicans voting present. So 45% of you thought it would be someone else becoming Speaker, and the rest of the votes are scattered except 4 to 5 votes, which was technically the correct answer, that had the least amount of votes. Only 6% of you got it correct, but this was a tough one. A lot of craziness happened on that vote. It went on longer than I thought it would. I thought it would be McCarthy in the end, and it was. But this was very difficult to anticipate how long those Republicans would hold out. And let's move on to the next question, and that is there any chance Hillary Clinton ever runs for office again? 65% no chance, 29% slim chance, just 5% some chance. I would lean more towards no chance myself. I know the media loves to hype up if she might run again. During an interview, she might not give a definitive no, and then everybody's supposed to think that might mean she's running someday. I think that's a lot of hype. I don't care. I think she's going to just retire, but still cash in on media appearances. Next question. Likelihood the new House votes to impeach Joe Biden within the next 2 years. We've got 17% very likely, 11% likely, 16% 50-50, 42% unlikely, and 13% very unlikely. So more of you think it would be unlikely. That was the clear top vote getter. I think that's a fair take on it. The reason is that there's just so much that's unknown. There's going to be all kinds of investigations, new information that comes up, and that might lead to an impeachment vote. I don't think it's likely, but it's in the conversation. We just have to wait and see what happens. If it were right now, they're not going to do it, but I'm sure a lot of them would love to find something enough to impeach Biden, and actually I think a lot of Republicans would hope they don't find anything because they don't want to have to deal with the outside pressure to go through with impeachment. But I'm mostly neutral on this kind of thing. We just don't know what they're going to find, and that's why I think it's unlikely. Some of you do think it's more likely. I would guess you're anticipating them really digging into people like Hunter Biden, possibly anything involving the administration, and any communication with Twitter involving censorship. You never know, but I think it's unlikely, but we'll see what happens. And finally, the last question here is, what is your opinion on the level of financial support the U.S. has provided Ukraine? 31% strongly support, 20% support, 24% strongly oppose, 13% oppose, another 13% are neutral. So we've got a majority, 51% support or strongly support, 37% oppose or strongly oppose. Now, this is a topic I think a lot of people don't even know much of the details on. I don't even know a lot of the details on it. And I can see both sides of this, wanting to support an ally against a bad guy, but at the same time, the amount of support seems to just endlessly keep flowing. There's so many problems here at home that we can never seem to find any money for. If we just took some of the money going overseas and helped our own citizens with it, helped secure our border, helped with healthcare or homelessness, that would be amazing, yet it would never happen. But then at the drop of the hat, we can seemingly find it instantly and even give more than what was asked for another country. So I can understand some disdain because you want to help somebody out, especially when you're a phenomenal country like us. But we do have tons of issues we need to solve. We're not solving any of them. And at what point does it end? It does seem like most of the mainstream media, they're highly in favor of this. We know the defense contractors, they love getting money for this kind of thing. So with that amount of money, there's certainly going to be a bunch of people behind the scenes gaining from it, while the vast majority of our own citizens can barely even buy a dozen eggs. And there's all kinds of worries about corruption and all that. It's going to be hard to track that much money. It's really complicated. I know that has good intentions behind it, but I can understand concern for endless financial support for a conflict overseas that could drag on again for years, even if you generally support the underlying cause. So those are the questions. A lot of these have some great comments. A lot of different opinions out there. Some of them, it's nice to get everything in one direction. Other times, it's nice to see different points of view. I try to respond to most of the constructive comments, but sometimes I like to just let you guys have your own conversations, and you don't always need me getting in the way. And sometimes you just disagree with somebody. But these are good polls, usually getting 300 or 400 votes on each one of these, so that's great. I'll try to keep putting these up in the future, so let me know in the comments. What do you think of these polls? And I assume you'd like to see another recap video every once in a while. And on your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.